Follow me as I buy and build a new tow rig for my race car. I'll share lots of information with you, including several options not in the end taken up in my case. But all that will give you lots of design concepts to possibly incorporate in or build of your own. 2.5 years ago, I was towing my race car to Mount Panorama Bathurst when the automatic transmission failed an hour from the track. This meant a 4-hour, $1,000 tow back home to Newcastle. I installed a replacement transmission with the very generous help of one of my YouTube followers who is a transmission specialist and who did that for a living. 6 months later, I was again headed for Bathurst when the ute died for a second time. The exchange gearbox was working fine, but it wasn't talking to the ECU, and it put the car in a limp mode with the strain of climbing over the Great Dividing Range. Another expensive tow home to find the problem was terminal. Parts to fix it were just not available. I had just finished building my camper car trailer, but now had nothing with which to tow it. As a retiree, only on a small government pension, I had no money to buy another car, so my racing had to stop while I saved for that. And after about 18 months, I had no option but to also sell the toy hauler camper trailer. But the good news was, with the new rig I'm considering, I will no longer need that. At first I looked to buy another Falcon ute until a fiberglass customer of mine drove up in an old 2004 Transit cab chassis with a flat steel tray on which he carried cars. Suddenly, the attractiveness of such a rig, which eliminated towing, hit me. His old Transit had 400,000 kilometres on it, and surfing the net showed these light trucks had a great reputation. I looked at similar brands, Iveco and Mercedes, but they were all 3 to 4 times the price second hand, way beyond my budget. Having just finished my camper car trailer, I thought I could build a rig that was much more functional than that mate's of mine simple flat tray, and I had 2 main build ideas. The first was to construct a ramp truck by angling the floor to make loading much easier. Ramp trucks have long been very common in America, but in Australia they are still unusual. The most common ones in America have a flat floor angled right up to the cabin height. These are great for loading race cars with no ground clearance, but putting all that weight up so high and raising the truck's centre of gravity that much didn't appeal to me at all. But a dovetailed ramp truck floor avoids that problem and actually does the opposite by lowering the carrying weight at the rear of the truck. It is illegal to cut and alter a truck chassis in Australia, but the Transit chassis ends at the rear spring mounting point, and the section after that, which goes right back to the end of the tray, that's a bolt-on and that can be altered, so I could rebuild the back floor section of a Transit and beaver tail it. Of course, the tray had to be long enough to hold the race car. In my case, that's 4 metres. The Transit cab chassis offered 2 main options. A single cab with a factory wheelbase extension came with a 4 metre tray. The dual cab only came with a 3.6 metre tray, so that would have to be extended. And then I came to the issue of the rule, how far can you extend a light truck chassis? Now, the rules on that will vary from country to country, state to state. You've got to do your homework on that to avoid building something illegal, and I certainly did my homework. Initially, Google drowned me in rules about how far loads can protrude. That wasn't my issue. Then it led me to overhang rules about heavy vehicles and semi-trailers. That wasn't my issue either. But after lots of searching, I found that a light tray truck, which is one under 4.5 tonnes in New South Wales and most other Aussie states, the tray can be extended past the rear axle to a maximum of 60% of the wheelbase. But why bother with a dual cab when a single cab would give me the tray length I needed? The answer is because of my second build idea. After building my camper car trailer, I wanted to put a similar facility on my new rig. I started with the single cab Transit, and designed a sleepover cab that I could make out of fiberglass. It would piggyback the factory cab and entry would be through the rear window opening, that glass being relocated to the back of the cab addition. The advantage of a dual cab transit was that I could just remove the rear bench seat and pop a bed inside the cabin. It would be much less work. And I found such a transit for sale in a state. This one had a 4-metre tray and it also had tilt hydraulics. It had very low kilometres on it and I was very close to buying it. But when I asked the owner to measure the rear axle overhang, it was 200 millimetres over what the law allowed. So it was game over on that rig. The guy had, without knowing, built an illegal tray. So I was back to the drawing board, literally. My sketches showed a dual cab probably just would not work as a ramp truck. But then I found this rig, which had a factory chassis extension and all the measurements lined up. Well, here she is, the new rig I will convert into my race car transporter. And what a bargain! Low kilometres for its age, great condition and easy to adapt. In a car yard, I know from the ads that I've been looking at over the last 3 months, this would have cost $25,000 to $27,000 and had at least 25% more kilometres on it. The guy that I bought it off advertised it at $19,000 and I got it for $17,000. This is a lot of truck for that money. It was a 5-hour drive back home with this truck yesterday afternoon and it just drives as smoothly. The suspension is as great as almost any road car you can think of. I was expecting, this sort of suspension effect that you get with a truck. Don't get any of that. It handles really well. It's got a 6-speed gearbox, 2.2 litre turbo diesel. You just put it in 6th gear and it'll just go up anything. The pulling power of this thing when you change down the gears is incredible. I'm very happy with how this performs on the road. My first job will be to remove that pair of toolboxes on the tray, the framing underneath and all the sign writing. Check out these giant under tray toolboxes. Not aluminium, they're steel. Heaps of storage space. They're not going anywhere. There's a reversing camera, an aftermarket one, mounted up in there. And the truck also comes with this heavy duty Heyman Reese tow bar. You can tow 3.5 tonnes as well as having a car on the truck itself. So this combo will allow me on those occasions where I want to have a race car on the truck and to have a car trailer behind it with another race car on that. So if I'm going to a race meeting like say with my son where we're both going and we're taking 2 cars, we only take 1 vehicle, 1 trailer. Magic. Although I won't use these steel drop sides when I'm carrying a car on this truck, getting them in the purchase of the Transit means that I can still use this as a normal truck. I can get a load of gravel or any bulky goods, whatever I like. So there's no compromise between it being a light truck with a 3.5 tonne capacity or as a tow rig with a car on it. Best of both worlds.